Right.
All right, I think it's starting to record.
Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome back, supervisors, to our last supervisor meeting of the semester. Very exciting. We've had a long semester of all kinds of wonderful things happening in the classroom and great experiences. So today we're going to go over all of the final things to kind of wrap up the semester. And we're going to, talk about those things in detail, and we'll answer any questions that you have. But before we get started, just to check in with you, how are you doing, and how are your student teachers? What questions do you have before we dive in? If any.
I have a question. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear? Okay, good. We're in the car traveling, so I wasn't sure. With their professional development piece, I didn't really see a rubric on that. And I've been working with a couple of teachers on that and was wondering if there was anything specific that we were looking for with that. I was making sure that when they were putting that on there, that they were actually looking for resources, whether it be books or trainings or things like that, to add to their professional development paper. So is there something in particular that we're looking for that maybe I missed, or there's a rubric that I didn't see?
We're going to go, great question, Deb. Yep, there are some specific assignment directions that we'll go over today about the professional growth plan. And
Okay.
we'll also Danielle and I will be going over all of this information that we're talking about today. We will be going over all of this with our students in seminar tonight. So everything we tell you guys, we'll tell them as well. So and make sure that everyone's on the same page and knows what to expect for these last few assignments. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else before we?
I have a question. So I one of my students, Nick, is already hired into the school. I mean, he's student teaching technically, but he's actually really the teacher there. So he had asked me about what he does. Did he reach out to you about what he does for the observation week? Because he technically won't be able to do that.
Yeah, he reached out to me. I've spoken to him a little bit. He hasn't yet responded, so I was hoping to talk to him this evening about it. I'm just thinking that we'll use his off hours as opportunities to see if he has any planning, if he can stop in another classroom and kind of fill it out that way.
Okay, because I see him tomorrow, so I just wanted to double check on that. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the moment? All right. So our agenda for today, some of the things we're going to be talking about, we'll quickly review the timeline of there are 3 important things coming up that we'll talk about. We'll talk about final assignments, what's due from everyone. We'll talk about the student teacher celebration coming up on December 3rd. Danielle will cover that with you and let's give you a better idea of what that's going to look like this semester. We're really excited about it. So we'll talk more about that. I'm going to talk about observation week and hopefully clarify what that's supposed to look like. And then talk about the professional growth plan and final conference with your students. So, all right. So the timeline from now until the end, so November 19th, this Friday, is the last day of solo teaching for all student teachers. So this week they should be spending this time, gradually handing things back and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit more about, what they can be doing, in that transition period. And give you some ideas of what you should, can be, and we'll talk about this in seminar with the students as well, but, just to kind of guide them of what they should be doing when they're handing things back and not teaching anymore. Then November 22nd through December 2nd, that's technically, that's observation week. Looks just slightly different this semester than it did in previous semesters. And that's only because there are those 2 days of Thanksgiving week. Thanksgiving week is a lot shorter than other weeks. There's usually most schools are only in session on Monday and Tuesday. So we got a couple extra days in there. So usually observation week is 4 days. It's it's the last week, and it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then that Friday is the student teacher celebration. But we do have those 2 extra days of Thanksgiving week added into that. So that's why it's that time frame. And then December 3rd is our student teacher celebration. So what should student teachers do when they're transitioning from solo teaching to observation? Some ideas that you will want to talk to your student about is, during this time they can co-teach with their cooperating teacher. They can use this time to work with small groups. They can work one-on-one with students. They can connect with parents. I would add in there too, maybe they could help their cooperating teacher with prepping materials, any number of things that they could be doing in the classroom to help, assist and just, be there. They can also spend that time observing. So many different things that they could be doing during this transition period. Are there any questions so far? Okay. So moving to observation week. So what should student teachers be doing during their observation week? So again, observation week is from November 22nd to December 2nd. Students should have already submitted their observation week plan to Canvas. It was due on November 14th. If your student hasn't submitted it yet, just, be sure to, ask them for that and check over their plan. But what we're hoping for is that you'll advise your students to make the most of this time, for this observation week, and schedule as many observations as they can. It should be at least 4 days of observations. So they should be observing in other classrooms. They can observe in other schools, but they should be using all of their time, all of these days, they should be well planned out, and they should know, where they're going and what they're doing for at least 4 of those days. And it also, one thing you might want to encourage your students to do is to, observe other, grade levels and things like that. Like, for example, elementary students are certified, are going to be licensed in grades 1 through 6. Some of them may have been placed in 1st grade. You might want to encourage them to go in and observe, 6th grade classrooms and 5th grade classrooms and things like that, just to kind of get more of that experience. You can encourage them to go observe in special education classrooms. That would be a great experience as well. AP classes, lab classes, just, a variety of different experiences. This is the time for them to really, get that. So just, if encourage them to, make the most out of this observation week. Okay. And then many students have asked me already, and I'll talk about it again in seminar tonight. If we're not observing in other classrooms and other schools, what should I be doing? Well, if they're not elsewhere, they should be in their original classroom, and they should be they could be observing there, assisting, and so forth. So if they're not somewhere else, they should be in their placement. The plan for the week, the student teacher will included in the assignment in the log, there are specific goals that the student teacher should have when doing these observations. So that is included in that, and you'll notice that of what they intend to learn from each of these experiences. And then you and the student teacher, at some point during observation week, you'll want to make sure that you build in some time to do that final conference with them, including reviewing and providing feedback on their professional growth plan. So this final conference can be the time where you go over the professional growth plan with them. And as someone asked before, can you do that can you meet through Zoom? Sure, you can, of course you can do that. You can, that's entirely up to you and your student teachers, how you want to have this final conference with them, this final meeting. So that's pretty much the overview of that of observation week. So final assignments, we have all final assignments due on Friday, December 3rd. So that's like just the last day of student teaching. The very last day students have until that Friday to submit those assignments. And then we just ask that supervisors grade the assignments by Sunday or Monday if you need more time to grade assignments, that's okay. But yeah. So talking a little bit more about the professional growth plan. So the last conference so the professional growth plan, there's information about that in the handbook. I also put it in here. It's on the next slide. But what you'll do is you'll meet with them. They'll have their professional growth plan kind of ready to go and their final self-assessment that we send them. So they'll have all of that information. You'll meet and discuss, you'll talk about, their strengths, goals, their accomplishments over the semester, things like that. Their journal reflections, the, evaluations, observations, all of these things should be incorporated into this, conversation. So based on your feedback that you give them on the professional growth plan, it'll be up to them to, revise the plan and submit it to Canvas. And again, you can schedule this meeting during observation week. Questions so far? Oh, well, I'm sorry. This right here is the blurb. I just copied and pasted it from the supervisor handbook. You can find it on page 8 of the supervisor handbook, but it focuses on the major aspects of teaching, that the areas of improvement and growth that you and your student teacher have identified, looking back on, journal feedback and lesson plan observation feedback. And then just celebrating their journey and all that good stuff. So what questions do you have about the professional growth plan? Did I answer your question, Deb? Does that make more sense?
For me, I've already, I hope some of my teachers have already written theirs. And so I've read it, I've gone over it with them, and then I requested them to add where they were going to seek this professional growth and to talk to their cooperating teachers with suggestions where they could find that, whether if they're an art teacher, where would they seek that through the ROE? Would they do a book study? Where would you want to have this additional study? One of them indicated that they wanted more differentiation training. So I said, okay, where would you get that? And gave them some ideas. So overall, their professional growth plan looked really well, other than addressing where they would seek this professional growth. And I didn't see that in here specifically, but that's what I told them I wanted them to do. So does that sound appropriate?
Yeah, that sounds like terrific feedback. Deb.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what this should be. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Great. Yeah, what other questions?
Can we back up?
Sure.
Okay. For the observation week, I've had some questions about that.
Mhm.
So just to be sure, counting those 2 days Thanksgiving week, essentially there would be 6 days in total that they could schedule observations,
Right.
but we're only requiring 4,
At least 4. Yes.
at least 4.
Mhm.
So the other 2 days, then they should be in their cooperating teachers' classrooms.
Mhm. Correct.
Okay. So some have submitted their plan already, and I knew they weren't meeting as I understood the requirements. So it'll be appropriate to go back to them and tell them to revise their plan. Plus, after you talk to them tonight, they'll know.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely, Wes. Great. Great point. Yes, we will be talking to them about the specifics about observation week and letting them know that the plan for observing should be pretty in depth. It should be well planned out. You should use all of the time. All of the
Yeah.
time should be spent making in these observations and things like that. Absolutely. And then so then you can go back and tell them that as well. And
Yeah, I set up a 1 day where I'm meeting with the 6 student teachers in 2 different locations, so we can meet in person to go through the final assessment and the professional growth plan. And one student thought that would count as her day of observation. and it does kind of interrupt their day. And I know in previous years, sometimes we did, because we were kind of forcing them to schedule a time in a day that may break up their day, kind of told them, well, this will count as a half day of that day for observation. So you don't have to put in like 5 hours that day to observe. You only need to put in 2 or something like that, depending on where they had to travel and those kinds of things. So I was thinking that's still a fair expectation. They're going to meet with me maybe an hour at the most. They could still get to another school for a couple hours observation before or after, but I didn't want to lay that on them if that's not kind of the message you all want to give.
No, I think that's
They
fine.
think I already grow horns, so I'm trying to be
I understand.
supportive with compassion.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
so-
think that's perfectly fine, perfectly fair, especially since we have 2 extra days worked in there
Yeah.
already. So yeah, they'll get their observation time. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just in the transition week, I know that's been difficult for some students, only because the nature of their units, the cooperating teachers didn't want to have the students start a unit, then they picked up on it, or it was a special activity. So there really is a pretty big variation in how students are transitioning with their co-ops. So I told the cooperating teachers to do whatever they thought would be best for their students and them being able to smoothly work through. So there may be one co-op taking over math for the week and the student does the rest, or it could be vice versa in a situation. But I kind of left that up to them, thinking the co-ops would probably take the lead on making sure that that was still a worthwhile week of transition.
Definitely. No, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, the co-op would know best in this. For the transitions, definitely.
All right.
That's perfectly fine.
And then my last one, we had a little bit of flexibility with the midterm assignments if they were turned in a little bit late.
Mhm.
That I don't think exists with the final. So if they're not into us by, say, midnight on the 3rd, is that a 0? Do we?
Well, I mean, if you've been, not that we advertise, it's okay to be late. You know how that goes, right?
Yes.
We, you know, the deadline is Friday, December 3rd. However, if your student is, communicates with you and says, can I please have until Sunday or something like that, that is perfectly fine. We actually don't have to, I mean, final grades have to be in on December 12th. Danielle and I have to post them by December 12th. So we do have a little bit of leeway in there. Do you know what I mean? We do have a little bit of time. So that's okay.
Sure.
If they need a little bit more time, but they should be communicating that with you though. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would be a 0 if they didn't turn it in.
Yeah. The thing that I guess I'm the most sensitive to is I'm looking at them now not so much as being students anymore. They're a couple weeks from being, except for getting the piece of paper that says that they officially are a teacher, they are teachers. And while I may have different expectations at midterm in terms of their professional responsibility, I think at this point, it's, in all fairness to them, I think it's important to communicate that you really do need now to respond as if you were a professional. And as the other supervisors know, whether they've been teachers and or administrators, there are a lot of expectations in our profession that we have to meet, and we don't have a lot of flexibility sometimes with deadlines. And I know this semester has been still an extenuating one with COVID and everything, and we have had some, I know with my group, some really challenging situations that the students and the co-ops had no control over. And as you and Danielle have used the term grace quite often, I've adapted that in my thinking as well, and I'm sure the other supervisors have. And we've given, I believe, a lot of flexibility to them in terms of meeting responsibilities and modifying maybe some of the assignments. But at this point, right at the very end, I think that's when they need to be very sensitive to the fact that, yes, I'm glad this is going to be done. It's going to be over with. But they also need to realize that they have a very close to a professional responsibility of getting these things done and getting them done with quality.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. They definitely should. At this point, I'm sure most of them will. If they do have any issues, we can, if any issues come up, we'll take care of it and deal with it as they come. But we'll definitely have those conversations with them, that everything should be submitted on time now. Everything should be, you should be ready to go by December 3rd. And if there are any, circumstances that come up, we can handle that as they come.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me? Am I muted? Not muted.
No, we can hear you, Teresa. Oh, okay, you're good.
I don't know why that's so, sorry. The professional growth plan, is that something that they put on Canvas, or would that be something that's emailed to us?
There is a spot on Canvas where they submit it. Yes.
Okay, so after I get that and their final assessment, then I have a meeting with them to go over both of those.
Yes, you'll be able to give them, well, they should have it ready for you by the time you meet for that final conference with them to talk about the professional growth plan.
Okay.
And that's when you can give them feedback on what they've, come up with.
I know for the midterm, when I filled out the link for the assessment of how they were doing midterm, I know on the bottom it said, I have discussed this with my student teacher, and I've been discussing things with them all along, but I didn't discuss that particular form. But now I can say what I would put on that form when I get theirs, or.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, when I did the midterm self-evaluation for the student teacher, and it was sent to me in a link. I know one of the bottom questions was, I have discussed this whole thing with my student teacher.
Okay.
And I had been discussing things with them, of course, all along, but that particular form, I did not. But should I have mine filled out so that I fill out and go over that specific form with them, or is that something I can fill out and turn in at the end?
I mean, if you can, that would probably be useful in the final conference.
Yeah, okay. Or just kind of talk to them about how they filled out their self.
You can do that too.
You can compare how I filled mine out and they filled theirs out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they still have the evidence form too, correct?
They only have the evidence form at midterm. The professional growth plan would be like in place of that for the final.
Okay, because it is listed in the handbook.
For final?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll have to take that out there. It's only for the midterm.
okay. So you're saying the professional growth plan kind of takes the place of that during the finals. Okay,
Correct.
great.
For observation week, one of my student teachers is currently employed as the special education teacher in her school. And early on in the semester, I talked with her co-op / building principal about providing her time to do the observations, but we haven't had that discussion since then. Is that something, I'm sure you guys tonight at for seminar will bring that up specifically with the student teachers. I just wanted to make sure that got mentioned again so that she would know to re-request that if that hasn't been already done.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yep, we'll talk about that in some.
Because she would need a sub. She can't leave her classroom otherwise.
Are you talking about Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. I'll mention that to Logan. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for the questions.
Actually, I'll see her tomorrow, so I'll put a bug in her ear as well when I see her for her final observation tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Any other questions? Oh, that was the professional growth form, plan form. The students will have this, and there is a spot for them to upload it. So, all right. If you have no other questions about the professional growth, oh, sorry.
I have one more. There's a question on it. It says, what are the 12 out of the Rockford University? What are the 12? And I can't think of it. Key teaching. Yeah. Where is that? I couldn't find it in my book or in their student teaching handbook. So where is that located that I would know what those 12 specific goals are?
Yes, they're actually listed in the syllabus.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and that's on Canvas for you. So, yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I didn't know where they were.
Yeah.
There's also a copy of those if you picked up the hard copy folder on campus.
Yep, I do. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right. If there are no other questions for those assignments, we will keep moving forward.
All right. I'm going to switch on over, take some of the control. Just talking to you about some of the final documents that you can be expecting. We have the final cooperating teacher assessments. There is going to be the final form that your student teacher is going to upload. It is, it's this form, the one that you've been using to assess them. Their cooperating teacher has also been using to assess them. So this form is going to be uploaded to Canvas. Your responsibility is just to ensure that it's uploaded on behalf of the cooperating teacher. Your student teacher is going to be the one who uploads that. Just like at the midterm, you're going to receive a link. The cooperating teacher has already received a link. You don't have to worry about doing anything with those results, anything with that Google form. Brandy and I are going to be doing that just as we did at the mid-semester. So I'm just articulating this for those who have been student teacher or university supervisors in the past. I know that there were some extra forms that's not needed this semester. Brandy and I are going to be taking care of that. So in terms of cooperating teacher assessments, just to make sure that this observation form is up, and then that link Brandy and I are taking care of. So that's, you know, just what I said. All that you need to do for cooperating teacher is to make sure that this form is there. For your supervisor assessment, again, very much like what we did for the midterm. Oh, this should say, I'm sorry, this should say final, not midterm. Your final observation form should be uploaded. Your student teacher will be uploading that fourth observation. And then you're going to be given a link. I think Karen was the one in the chat who asked when that'll be sent out. It'll be sent out before Thanksgiving break, hopefully by the end of this week. And you're doing just as you did in the midterm, making sure that those numbers are moved into the Google form. And that's all you have to do for that assessment aspect of it. So this form needs to be completed. Your student teacher will upload it on your behalf for the university supervisor, and then just be on the lookout for that link that's going to be sent via email where you just transfer that information. I'll just take a second. Are there any questions about this process? It mimics your midterm experience pretty closely, but I want to make sure I can field anything that comes up. All right. So the remaining items that you're going to have to evaluate are, again, very similar to what you did at the midterm, just updating that information. So this is the electronic binder that they've been completing. Hopefully you also saw it in print form. So what they can do is, if they've been getting those signatures from, for example, the lesson plans, their cooperating teachers been signing it off, they can take a picture and just upload it. And so you just want to make sure that the following documents are updated and not the midterm dates and stopping points. So this is all found in module 16, and your students are going to be scanning them and submitting them to Canvas. The attendance log, it should begin on August 18th. Again, we talked a little bit about how some schools started earlier, some started later. So there's that flexibility. For each unexcused day, dock 10 points, and every unreported day, dock 25 points. So again, students should have been communicating with you if they were going to be absent. They do have those 3 excused absences. So consider that as well when you're computing. I don't know if anyone has had COVID quarantines, but if they had to, for an extended period of time, stay out because of COVID, that counts as 1 excused absence, because despite it possibly being multiple days. The lesson plan should be, again, from the very first to the very first day that they needed to have that lesson plan sign up, all the way to their most recent. And so it should be a complete log of their lesson plans with their cooperating teacher signature along with it. Parent guardian contact. At the midterm, they would have had 5. Now, hopefully they have 10 or more contacts. So just ensuring that it's a 2-way contact. They've all known what this looks like and just following up on your end. Outside activities, a minimum of 4 outside activities. I know that there were a couple instances where their might not be for, and that's on a case-by-case basis. I think I've talked to everyone whom that applies to. So just double checking to make sure that they've done that. Their service project final report is also something that needs to be submitted. They at the midterm likely had their proposal. Now they should have completed the project, and they're kind of debriefing it. Right here you have the final report. They're given this information as well. The expectations. It doesn't necessarily have to be a checkbox here. They can use some artistic liberty, but these are some talking points almost, or writing points, if you will. And then, as Brandy talked about, the observation week log and reflection. So they have their proposal, and then the actual log and reflection is when they've enacted that. What did they learn? What can they incorporate? Really just thinking about what that experience, how that experience enrich and will enrich their teaching. Y'all should keep a copy of the observation form for 1 year. It can be electronic. It doesn't necessarily have to be a paper copy. So if that is your style, it's fine as well. We also have that on Canvas. So we're going to keep the shell to make sure that we have all the documents in order and accessible. We talked about the deadline, December 3rd at 11:59. All journals, assignments, and final assessments must be graded by supervisors by Sunday, December 5th at 11:59. If the assignment has not been completed, you can put a 0 for the assignment if it hasn't been communicated, if you haven't worked out something with your student teacher, whatever the situation may be. So in a perfect world, and my hopes that everything's in by December 3rd and 11:59, and we don't have to worry about any stragglers. So I'm speaking that into existence. Before I talk a little bit about the student teaching celebration, I know I was talking very fast and there's a lot of information here. What questions do y'all have?
What about the primary source requirement?
Excellent, thank you, Wes. So we uploaded on Canvas a slot for them to put their lesson plans that have the primary source lesson plans. There was no assigned date for that. It was really whenever they felt was the right time to incorporate a primary source. So they have to have that in by their last lesson plan. And they'll just upload it and y'all can alert them the points. I think it was 10 points. It's more of a kind of a check that they've done it, because sometimes, I know I personally forgot exactly when one of my students did it. And so this is an easy way for me to make sure they're held accountable.
Okay. And Brandy, you're going to mention that tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions? All right. So now we get to talk about the party, which I'm sure everyone's really excited about. I'm super excited about it. The student teaching celebration is going to be on December 3rd at 6 p.m. in Regents Hall. So this is on campus. The last few times have been virtual. This time we get to do it on campus, which is going to be wonderful. We're going to have some light food and some refreshments. So it's going to be a really great time. It's in the Burpee Center. I'm sure we can, I'm writing this down right now. I'll send out a map if y'all need to, we can indicate where it is.
I do have a question on this. I was talking to the co-op for one of my student teachers, and she got an email, and I remember seeing this too somewhere, that it was a different date at Prairie State Brew House. What is that?
That's something different. So the student teaching celebration, that's through RU, that's specifically celebrating our class of students who are graduating. The Prairie Street Brewery is kind of a mixer that's put on by RPS. So I actually have one of them here. So that one is on December 9th, from 5 to 6:30. And that's, as I said, put on by RPS, just getting to know, it's kind of a networking opportunity. But that's independent of RU.
Okay. Then I'm gonna, after the meeting's over, I'm gonna stick around and talk to you guys about, I've got a conflict on this date. So I'll talk with you about that later.
Okay, thank you. Sure. So there are a couple things that we need from you for the student teaching celebration. The tentative agenda, just to kind of put things in perspective for y'all, we have welcome, the keynote, we have an opportunity to recognize the student teachers, words of wisdom, final thought, a little gift. I'm not telling them what they are, but I feel like they probably know because everyone gossips. So they probably know from past student teachers what it is, but we're really excited and it's going to be a lot of fun. Because we have been blessed with such a large class of student teachers, we don't have time to read little messages as we have in the past, which I think is a really valuable and wonderful experience. So what we've decided instead is to have those written. So what we need is, we need y'all to please send 3 attributes that describe each student teacher that you supervise. While we're calling them up for them to receive their gift, they'll have their name, their area of concentration, and those 3 words that you think really highlight who they are. And then they're also going to be given a little note from you as they go through kind of a procession line. Particularly with the fall graduates, they don't get the commencement ceremony that spring graduates do. So we're really trying to make this something special for them. In that little note to your teacher, your student teachers, maybe you wish them luck, you detail an area they really grew in, celebrate an achievement, maybe, you know that they have a job and you're so excited for them and whatever it may be. So just a nice little note that goes along with it, because as I said, we have such a great large cohort that we just don't have time for everyone to read the special words that they would have for their student teacher. If you're unable to attend December 3rd, please reach out to me and we'll figure out a way for you to get your note to me so that I can get it to them. What questions do y'all have about the student teaching celebration?
I have 2 student teachers that are not going to be able to be attending, and they've already told me. Okay. So I plan on mailing them something and doing it that way, and I've already talked to them about it. The other 3 will be there, is from my understanding.
Okay.
So is that good? I mean, to just have already worked that out with them?
That's fine. That's totally fine. Will you tell them to tell me, or who are they, so I can ask them? Because
right. So one is Gretchen, and then the other one is Morgan. Morgan has to work, and Gretchen has a family commitment.
Okay. So I will reach out to them to coordinate with me so I can get them their little gift as well.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Danielle, is the note like on a stationery, or is the note something you need so we email it to you, or how is it best way to give it to you?
I think it would be great if you did it on stationery, if you had like a cute little note and in an envelope and
hand it to you to give to them.
Yeah, because that's going to go along with their gift when they're kind of going through the procession. They're going to do like the handshake. It's in lieu of a physical diploma.
Okay, and I have Alex E, who said she can't come.
Oh yeah, because she's going to be moving right away.
Yeah, and JC Schneiker didn't think she, and JC, she didn't think she was going to come.
I'm going to talk to some of these people and let them know.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't.
I did as much plugging as I could, and yeah.
I'll plug. Maybe maybe it hasn't been adequately hyped up, so I'll make sure to do that tonight.
The attributes that we give for you to put on their slide, they're not anecdotal stories or anything. They're just 3 words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, please.
What COVID protocols are there?
Everyone's going to be wearing a mask. And we've checked with Regents Hall about the capacity for the space, and we've met that as well. Any other questions? All right, just a couple other things. In thinking about next semester, Brandy and I need to sit down and kind of parse apart who we all have, what our needs are. And so we're gonna be assessing our needs in the upcoming student teachers in the next couple weeks, and we'll be reaching out about possibly supervising in a couple weeks from now. So hang tight, we're still kind of crunching numbers and seeing where people are and how we might allocate supervisors to student teachers. Our next meeting is not a meeting so much as it's that celebration on December 3rd. We'll be sending out little e-bites for you as well, just to confirm all the information for you. But please do mark it on your calendars. We'd love to have you there to celebrate our student teachers and just celebrate the experience. And so that's all I have. What questions are lingering? Confusions, concerns? I'll stop sharing the screen so we can see everyone. All right.
Can you see me, Danielle?
I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, what do I need to do?
Not sure.
Oh,
Well, I can, oh, there.
okay, now.
Okay.
Okay, I did something. Yeah,
Whatever you did, it worked.
okay.
Did you have a question, Vicki?
I got into the meeting late, but are families invited to this, or just the teachers, just the student teachers? What about the cooperating teachers? Are they invited? Okay. All right.
Yes, great question. We had to check on that to see how many people we could have our student teachers invite, if they could invite their
Yeah.
families and things like that. Apparently they can. So we'll let them know that they
Yeah.
can bring families, and that's perfectly fine. You all can, bring your spouse or whomever, your person. You feel free to do that. That's perfectly fine. And we will be reaching out to, we'll be inviting the cooperating teachers too. So should be a good turnout.
Okay.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming and sticking it out through the semester. It is wild that it's almost over.
Thank you all so much. I think it's been a really great semester.
Okay.